Hello, I'm Daniel Marshall, and I did my presentation here on the role of emergency management in planning and mitigating climate change along with sea level rise. Alright, so climate change creates some challenges such as more intense storms, frequent heavy precipitation, heat waves, droughts, extreme flooding, and sea level rise, which could significantly alter the types and magnitudes of hazards that are faced by communities in emergency management that serve them. Emergency officials have to be ready to respond to all these disasters and help mitigate them. One example of assistance that FEMA provides is assistance to flooding caused by sea level rise. Okay, and here is a map of the state of Florida where 1 meter, which is supposed to happen in the next century before 2100, and that's supposed to be sea level rise, and this will happen in the state of Florida, and everything with red will be underwater. And you can see Tallahassee up there. You can buy some waterfront property up there. You might want to go to smooth South Tallahassee. And the Everglades are gone, and along with some big cities, Jacksonville, lots of it, and Miami and Tampa Bay. So there's some scary things right there. And from 2011 to at least 2015, the rate of sea level rise across the southeastern United States shot up by a factor of 6, from 3 to 4 millimeters to 20 millimeters a year. Now let's talk about FEMA. So FEMA uses something called the FEMA cost-benefit tool to calculate the benefit-cost ratio for these projects. And for sea level rise, it uses estimates from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to help develop maps of sea level rises over the next 10, 25, and 100-year flood elevations. Local communities can use this data to gauge updating infrastructure and future building codes. A local example of this is Miami Beach. And Miami Beach here is, like I said, they're fighting what is soon to happen, and they're figuring out options along FEMA's side. And sea levels have risen 1 foot since 1930, which is another thing. And here's another picture of actual flooding in action in the streets of Miami. That's a scary thing right there. And developers are using the FEMA flood maps to make sure that projects are built for the future and not just today. It is extremely important to embed climate change into sustainable future developing. And if nothing is done, the existing buildings and electrical outlets will soon be underwater. And this is the city of Miami right here. That is almost entirely completely underwater, actually putting it in perspective with the buildings there. And FEMA works with the state and local offices in developing plans to obtain the FEMA funding. There is public comment opportunity in developing a local plan. Once a plan is approved locally, it must go to the regional FEMA office. Then FEMA will comment on it and send back a list of requirements it needs. The local jurisdiction has 1 year to make the changes. Once it is approved, it needs to be updated every 5 years to continue to receive the FEMA funds. As this is the only regulatory agency with authority on flood hazard mapping analysis, it seems as if states and countries need FEMA to develop more specific disaster planning to reduce the uncertainty that we saw before. And as we see, FEMA does a great job right now of laying out the land and helping cities like Miami and even New York, which I didn't show because there wasn't enough time, but the sea level rise is going to impact every single coastal city in the United States, and FEMA is doing their best to help mitigate and combat climate change along with the sea level rise. Thank you.